I have a question for you. How do you lead? Think about it for a minute. You know, I've asked hundreds of leaders this question in the past couple of years. How do you lead? Pretty simple question. And you know what? They're stumped. If they have glasses, they take them off and they start cleaning the lenses. If they have a beard, they start pulling on it, trying to buy time to think about how they lead. And some of the answers I've been getting are fascinating. I'm an authentic leader. That's how I lead. How about this one? I lead like a sports coach. Or the ultimate, I'm a transformational leader. Everywhere I go, I bring change continuously. That's what I do. And then there was this. There's only one way to lead. Beat or treat. And with that zinger, I was stopped in my tracks. How are we defining leadership? How are we developing leaders? And so the question that is in front of us as we think about the future of leadership and where the 21st century is placing us as leaders, is it efficient? Is it enough? Will it get us to a better place? I want to address one large looming leadership issue with you. I want to talk about 3 trends that I find quite disturbing. And I then want to share with you 5 principles of leadership that I've been working on for the past 7 years as I've been investigating and researching what this new leadership may be, what form it may take. And my belief is we need a new language of leadership. We need to put new words around leadership to change it. And isn't it sad and unfortunate that with all of the Mandelas and with all of the Malalas in the world, and there are many good leaders out there, but they really now represent a crust, don't they? They are the 1%. And somehow the statistics are telling a different story about leadership. 50% of CEOs who get walked out the door these days are walked out because of poor execution. 70% of change management projects fail. But think about the symptoms of DAD. You know, you can't focus. There's information coming at you from everywhere. You don't have patience. You start feeling impatient when somebody's trying to say a few words to you. It's like, when are they going to be finished? When are they going to be finished? No one has conversations in paragraphs anymore. It's these bullets, right? No one has a time span to take in all that information. Isn't it ironic with all of this incredible power in your phone that we're so socially unconnected? Because the average attention span is declining, and it is now at 8 seconds. Now, a goldfish is at 12 seconds. So you think about it. I have 8 seconds to connect with you, and you have 8 seconds to connect with me. Imagine if we were project managers trying to get a complicated task done. And it is our homage to individual leaders. And the dynamic of leadership now is that, as we know in project management studies, that we were all leading all the time. All of us. And we all owe it to each other to lead all the time. And this quotation at the top, who do you think said this? Any leader who has to go to school to learn about leadership isn't a leader. Who do you think said that? That was said by Donald J. Trump last summer. And it stopped me dead in my tracks and caused me to rewrite every speech I've given in the last couple of years. Because if anybody needs to go to school, it's Donald Trump to learn about leadership. And his orangeness has created, this is our cat Simba. There was an Instagram contest, our daughter trumped our cat. But all joking aside, his orangeness, because I don't want to call him by name, has caused such divisive vitriol in our society and in our world You cannot sit back as a human being, let alone as a formal leader, and take this on your heels. You can't give in to it. He wants you to. And if you look at the binaries that have been created right now between good and bad and angels and devils and black and white and women and men and rich and poor and country and city, and I could go on, and it's too much. We must view leadership differently if we are to survive as a planet. Our world is changing too fast, and unfortunately our leadership development is at least a generation behind from where we need to be. And so I believe that we're at shatter point. That's one of my new words that I'd like to share with you today in leadership. What is a shatter point? A shatter point is a no turning back moment where we must take action, even if we don't know what the outcome is going to be. We have to take that first, second, third, and fourth brave step to address acts of leadership. In the old days, I think we were relying on others. Someone was going to solve a problem. Someone was going to come up with an innovation. Someone would figure it out. Well, right now, we have to figure it out. There isn't a someone anymore. We need a third way to think about leadership. It's not just command and control, and it's not just kumbaya. And it just seems that in the leadership world, there's also is binaries, which we want to smash through. And so aren't you sad that I didn't come up here to give you the 3 C's of caring, communication, and commitment? Right? We've all heard that speech 1,000 times, at least I have. And it's done. So when we think about how do we change, how do we change? We start thinking about relational leadership. And there are 3 pillars of relational leadership. And the first is a focus on others. Now, how many people here have heard the term othering? Anybody heard that term? You're going to start to hear that term. And it's a term that is rising in our vocabulary. And it really talks to the challenges we have. When you think about #MeToo, when you think about Black Lives Matter, Truth and Reconciliation Committee, it talks about people who have been othered. And that means that some people have placed themselves as uniquely privileged and are controlling of these other groups, that they feel that they're unique, empowered, different, special, and you're not. Our traditional model has been that the leader's been in the center and everything radiates out. All the power, all the people, all the decision, all the policy is radiating out. And what is now happening is for successful leadership to create meaningful change that's real, leaders have to position themselves on the circumference. They have to start edge walking around their issues in order to address them. All these people that we've all worked for over the years who've been grabbing power, and we all know who these kinds of leaders are. You know what? If they just represented us better, I'd give it to them. I would just give it. And lastly, how is your number one concern of how you lead. And so when we think about the how, I've created a simple framework, P3, principles, processes, and practices. If I was to ask anyone in this room right now to stand up and for 30 seconds, tell me your philosophy of leadership. What is your philosophy? Could you do it? Processes are the methods by which we deal with repetitive situations. Practices are the tools that we can use to address those processes. The underpinning of how we need to function in society, it really begins with growing self-awareness. And that's ironic, isn't it? Because here I am talking about the death of individual leadership, I'm talking about the death of the leader and follower relationship, and you're saying, well, Jill, how's that possible now? I'm going to focus on self-awareness on the individual. But the fact of the matter is, until we actually bend back on ourselves, reflecting critically, and so in the old days when you were in your leadership development program, what did they train? Reflection, the 4 kinds of reflections, right? Introspection, rehearsal, spontaneity, and inquiry. And that's how we reflected as leaders. That's like 45 years old. How many people here have heard of critical reflexivity? That is the new way to reflect. It is bending back. It is the yoga of leadership, right? Take me as I am. It's another thing to change. And so ethical commitments come into the fore. What kind of red line do you draw that you will not cross. And if you're posted on a project working in Saudi Arabia right now and you're working with a big multinational, you better have that red line in your mind before you get on that plane, because things are going to happen. As we think about collective team intelligence, which emanates out of nurturing culture, one of the other principles, I take you for a moment to the cool, clear, blue water of this incredible art installation in Brisbane. And this Chinese artist who gave this to the institution created what I think is one of the most seminal moments in leadership today. Each of us as leaders need to create in our own way that wonderful pool of commonality. So here you have all these people, all these animals that would tear each other apart, but they're all thirsty and they're all at peace. And so part of the opportunity for project management as you're working with these multidisciplined, multi-layered, multi-diverse international teams is to model ways to find this cool, calming place where unity and peace can begin. Because it has to begin somewhere. If it's not going to happen around you, how do you make it happen within you? Lead like your life depends on it, because it does. Your children will thank you and your grandchildren will thank you. And I thank you. Thanks very much.